Respected Showtime analyst Steve Farhood here. I was going to ask you, what were your thoughts on the year that Floyd Mayweather had this year? His victories, Robert Guerrero, Sal Alvarez. How do you think Floyd's looking? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he surprised us all with the Guerrero fight, even more than the Canelo fight, because he was coming off a layoff. He was coming off the stint he did in jail. And everybody said, well, at this advanced age, maybe his legs won't be what they were. His legs were fantastic in the Guerrero fight. And then he surprised us again by coming back 4 months later. That's the shortest turnaround he had in fights in a dozen years. He hadn't fought twice in 4 months in a dozen years. And he looked as good as he's ever looked against Canelo. So I think it was a huge year for him. He's certainly in the argument for Fighter of the Year, if not favored, because of what he did with Canelo. And I think he showed himself something, which is busy is good. And I almost regret the fact that he's not going to fight again until May, most likely. I wish it was sooner, but he's still the king.
Did you expect the Canelo fight to be a little tougher? He's moving up in weight against a legitimate champion.
I did think Canelo would be a little tougher, strictly because of the size. I mean, the experience factor was, Floyd blew him out of the water there, of course. But the fact of the matter is, Canelo fought a kind of fight that didn't enable him to take advantage of his size and strength advantages. So the fact that Canelo was a natural 154-pounder who weighed almost 170 the night of the fight didn't come into play. When you're at a distance, that strength and physicality doesn't matter. So I was a little disappointed in how Canelo approached Mayweather. He approached him as a boxer more than as a puncher or a physical guy, and he's not going to outbox Floyd Mayweather.
The latest rumors circulating are that maybe Floyd might end up fighting Amir Khan. Give me just your take on that scenario.
My take on that scenario is different from most people. Most people say, what has Khan done to deserve the fight? He hasn't looked good his last couple of fights. My approach is styles make fights, and I think Khan has a style, being tall, being rangy, and being very fast, that could give Floyd a lot of trouble.
Okay.
The blueprint for how to fight Floyd was created by Oscar De La Hoya years ago. A rangy, tall guy with a good jab. That's the way Khan will fight. Now, Khan's weakness, we know, is his chin. I don't think Floyd's a big puncher anymore. Maybe that won't even come into play. So I think it's not that as easy a fight as most people think.
And I was going to talk to you about Khan's last two fights. Once he started working with Virgil Hunter, he hasn't had, electrifying performances. The Julio Diaz fight was tough. He got dropped. Do you think maybe it's because it just takes them time to mesh as a fighter and trainer? What's your take on him working with Virgil?
Well, Virgil wants Amir Khan to be a little less exciting. And we don't look at his performances as scintillating because he's been less exciting. When you have the physical gifts he has, the speed and the range and the length he has, there's nothing wrong with occasionally winning fights and not exciting the crowd too much. He doesn't have to fight the Danny Garcia type fights, every time out. Be boring sometimes. And against Floyd, probably the best fight he could fight would be to be kind of boring. Stay on the outside jab, try to push Floyd back with the jab. He doesn't have to always be exciting. He can be effective without being scintillating.
Do you think, some people feel, they criticize the matchup, they say, well, what has Khan done? Do you think this shows that boxing is a business and that because Khan is such a lucrative opponent, maybe that's part of the reason he's getting this?
Well, that's a large part of it. Of course, boxing is a business, and it's more of a business at the highest level than any other level. And Floyd is the king, and Floyd picks who he wants to fight, when he wants to fight, where he wants to fight. If people don't like that, well, as a fan, I can understand you might not like that, but that's reality. That's economic reality. He's earned that by becoming the pay-per-view seller that he is. So, the other thing is he beat Canelo, he beat Guerrero. There aren't a lot of other guys. Matisse would have been a candidate had Matisse beaten Danny Garcia. Matisse didn't beat Danny Garcia. He eliminated himself from the Floyd sweepstakes. So it's not like there are that many other guys. Who do people want to see him fight? Of course, they want to see him fight Manny. I'd like to see him fight Manny. I hope it happens someday. Right now, because of the politics involved, it doesn't seem likely. So Khan is as good as anybody else as far as I'm concerned.
And the last thing about Floyd, he had the Showtime contract for 6 fights. He's 2 fights in. He's still looking great. If at the end of the contract he's still looking top form, do you feel it's going to be hard for him to walk away? Do you feel he might entertain still fighting?
It will be very hard for him to walk away. First of all, Floyd lives a very nice lifestyle. He needs the money. All right, I'm sure his money is making money as we speak, but nonetheless, he's accustomed to that lifestyle. He's accustomed to the ego gratification you get being the best fighter in the world. Why will he be different from 99% of other great fighters? They all stay too long. I hope it doesn't happen to Floyd, but I wouldn't bet it doesn't happen to Floyd.